Not everything at Dollar Tree is a good deal, and there are 5 specific items on shelves right now that you're better off skipping entirely, even at $1.25. Some of these can actually cost you more money down the line, and one of them is genuinely a safety concern that most people have no idea about. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly which 5 items to walk past on your next trip and why the savings just aren't worth it. If you're new here, this channel breaks down what's actually worth buying at Dollar Tree and what's not, no fluff, just the honest breakdown. So if that's useful to you, go ahead and hit subscribe before we get into it, because knowing what to skip is honestly just as valuable as knowing what to grab. Before we start, I want to be clear about something. This isn't a video trashing Dollar Tree as a store. I shop there regularly, and plenty of what they sell is genuinely great value. This list is specifically about 5 categories where the low price ends up costing you more in the long run, either through poor performance, safety concerns, or having to replace the item almost immediately. I've spent a while researching these specific categories, comparing customer complaints, safety reports, and manufacturing standards across budget retailers in general, not just Dollar Tree. And these 5 kept coming up as the categories where the price gap between a dollar store version and a properly certified version actually matters. Let's get into it. Number 1. The phone charging cables and USB cords. This is the one I'd avoid the most, and it's not just about durability. Charging cables carry electrical current directly into your phone's battery, and cheap, uncertified cables have been linked to overheating, battery damage, and in rare but documented cases, actual fire hazards. The problem isn't that these cables are inexpensive. Plenty of budget cables from reputable brands work just fine. The problem is that dollar store charging cables frequently lack proper safety certification, meaning there's no guarantee the internal wiring meets the voltage regulation standards your phone's charging system actually expects. On top of the safety concern, these cables tend to fail fast anyway, often within a few weeks of regular use, with the outer coating cracking or the connection becoming loose at the port. When you factor in how often you'd need to replace one, plus the small but real safety risk, spending a few extra dollars on a certified cable from literally almost anywhere else ends up being the smarter move. There's also a practical charging speed issue worth mentioning. Uncertified cables often use thinner internal copper wiring than a properly rated cable, which means your phone charges noticeably slower even when plugged into a fast charger. So you're not even getting the full benefit of your existing charging brick when you pair it with one of these. Number 2. The reading glasses. I know this one might surprise some of you, especially since I've mentioned in other videos that these can be a decent grab. But here's the nuance. Reading glasses at a dollar store are inconsistent, meaning the actual magnification strength printed on the label doesn't always match what you're actually getting when the lenses are tested. Optometrists and vision health experts have pointed out that low-cost, unregulated reading glasses can cause eye strain and headaches specifically because the lens curvature isn't always manufactured to the precision that the stated magnification implies. If you only need them for occasional quick reading, the risk is minor. But if you're relying on them daily for extended reading or screen use, that inconsistency adds up, and the eye strain from a slightly off lens isn't worth the couple dollars you're saving compared to a pair from an actual optical retailer or pharmacy that tests their lenses to a verified standard. There's also the frame durability to consider. The hinges on dollar store reading glasses tend to loosen up fast with daily folding and unfolding, which means a pair that felt fine in the store can start slipping down your nose within just a few weeks of regular use. Number 3. The plastic food storage containers, specifically the ones with the snap-on colored lids. These look practical, but there are two real problems. First, a lot of these containers aren't actually microwave safe, despite looking like standard microwave safe containers. And heating certain plastics repeatedly can cause them to leach chemicals into your food, especially with fatty or acidic foods. Second, and more practically, the snap-on lids on the cheaper container lines tend to warp after just a handful of trips through the dishwasher or freezer, which means the seal stops working properly and you end up with leaks in your bag or fridge. If you're specifically buying these for short-term, cold-only storage, they're probably fine. But if you're planning to microwave leftovers in them regularly, spending a bit more on containers explicitly labeled and tested for microwave use is worth it, both for your food safety and so you're not replacing warped containers every few months. It's also worth checking the actual bottom of the container for a recycling number and a microwave safe symbol before assuming it's fine, since not every container in this section carries that labeling even when it looks nearly identical to one that does, and that missing label is usually your clearest sign the container wasn't designed for repeated heat exposure. Number 4, the kids' toys with small, loose components, especially the ones that combine batteries with small, snap-together pieces. This is the safety concern I mentioned at the start, and it's the one I take most seriously. Toy safety testing exists for a reason, covering things like choking hazards, battery compartment security, and material toxicity. And while Dollar Tree does sell plenty of toys that meet standard safety requirements, the lower-cost, off-brand toys in this specific category have had more documented recalls and safety complaints than toys from established toy manufacturers. The battery compartments on some of these budget toys don't always have a secure screw-locked cover, meaning small children can potentially access button batteries, which are genuinely dangerous if swallowed. If you're buying for a toddler or young child, it's worth spending a little more on a toy from a brand with a longer safety track record, and saving the dollar store toy aisle for items clearly meant for older kids without small parts or battery compartments. It's also worth mentioning that consumer safety organizations regularly publish recall lists, and checking a toy's brand name against those lists before buying takes less than a minute on your phone right there in the aisle, which is honestly one of the simplest habits you can build if you're regularly shopping for young kids at any budget retailer, not just Dollar Tree specifically. And number 5, closing out the list. The extension cords and power strips. This connects to the same concern as the phone charging cables, but at a higher stakes level because we're talking about household electrical current instead of low voltage phone charging. Extension cords need to be rated for a specific amperage load, and cheap, uncertified cords sometimes use thinner gauge wire than the packaging suggests, which means the cord can overheat if you plug in something that draws more power than the wire can safely handle, like a space heater or a hair dryer. This is a well-documented issue across the entire budget extension cord market, not just Dollar Tree specifically, but it's exactly why this category deserves a second look before it goes in your cart. If you're just running a lamp or charging a small device, a low-power draw cord like this is probably fine. But for anything drawing real power, spending more on a properly rated UL-certified extension cord from a hardware store is genuinely a safety decision, not just a quality one. One easy way to check before you buy is looking for the actual UL certification mark on the packaging itself. If it's not clearly printed anywhere on the box or the cord, that's usually a sign the manufacturer either skipped that testing entirely or isn't confident enough in the product to advertise it, and either reason is enough to skip it for anything beyond the lowest power devices. So here's the pattern connecting all 5 of these. Every item on this list involves either sustained electrical current, direct contact with your eyes or your food, or a young child's safety, and those are exactly the categories where cutting corners on manufacturing quality has the most potential to actually cost you, whether that's a replacement purchase, a health issue, or in the more serious cases, an actual safety incident. That doesn't mean everything in these broad categories at Dollar Tree is unsafe. Plenty of their basic hardware and kitchen items are genuinely fine. It's specifically these 5 categories where the manufacturing standards and safety certifications matter enough that the couple dollars you'd save aren't worth the trade-off. It's also worth understanding why these specific categories tend to have more quality inconsistency than something like, say, a ceramic bowl or a greeting card. Electronics, optics, food contact plastics, and children's products are all subject to more regulatory oversight than basic housewares, which means the cost of properly certifying and testing a product in these categories is genuinely higher. When a manufacturer is trying to hit an extremely low price point, testing and certification are often the first costs that get cut, which is exactly why these 5 categories show up on lists like this one far more often than, say, storage bins or greeting cards. It's worth comparing this to the items that don't make a list like this one too, because the contrast is genuinely instructive. Basic ceramics, party supplies, greeting cards, and most home decor don't carry the same regulatory burden, so a manufacturer cutting corners there mostly just means a slightly less durable product, not a genuine safety or health concern. That's the real dividing line running through this entire list. It's not about dollar store products being inherently worse across the board. It's about which categories have enough regulatory weight behind them that cutting corners actually creates risk rather than just a minor quality trade-off. So what should you actually do with this information next time you're shopping? First, for anything in these 5 categories, it's worth spending the extra few dollars elsewhere rather than grabbing the dollar store version just because it's convenient. The savings on a charging cable or an extension cord are small in dollar terms anyway, so the actual financial trade-off for buying a safer version somewhere else is minor compared to the risk. If you're saving $1 or $2 on a cable that could damage a phone worth several $100s, the math genuinely doesn't favor the cheaper option once you actually think it through. Second, if you do end up with one of these items already, especially the charging cables or extension cords, it's worth doing a quick visual inspection periodically, checking for fraying, cracking, or any discoloration around the plug, since those are early warning signs of a cord that's starting to fail. This only takes a few seconds, and it's a habit worth building for any electrical cord in your home, not just the ones bought at a dollar store, since even a properly certified cord can wear out over time with heavy use. And third, for kids' toys specifically, always check the batteries. If a toy has a battery compartment that opens without a screwdriver, that's a toy that shouldn't be given to a young child regardless of where it was purchased from. It's also worth doing a quick tug test on any small attached pieces before handing a toy to a toddler, since a piece that comes off easily with a firm tug is a genuine choking risk, no matter how sturdy it looked sitting on the shelf. A fourth tip worth mentioning applies to all 5 categories at once. When in doubt, read the packaging closely before you buy rather than after you get home. Certification marks, safety warnings, and usage instructions are usually printed somewhere on the box, even for dollar store products, and taking 30 extra seconds to actually read that packaging in the store is one of the simplest ways to catch a potential issue before it ever makes it into your cart. Once you start thinking about which categories genuinely benefit from spending a little more, it changes how you shop the entire store, not just these 5 items. Dollar Tree is still a great source for a huge number of genuinely good products. But knowing where the manufacturing shortcuts actually matter versus where they don't helps you get the real value out of the store without the trade-offs that come with the categories on this list. It's also worth remembering that this same principle applies well beyond Dollar Tree. Any budget retailer selling extremely low-cost electronics, optics, food contact plastics, or children's products is worth the same quick mental checklist before you buy. The specific 5 items on this list are the ones I've seen come up most consistently in complaints and safety reports tied to Dollar Tree specifically. But the underlying reasoning behind why these categories deserve extra scrutiny holds true, no matter which store you're standing in. If you found this breakdown helpful, let me know in the comments if you've had any personal experience with one of these 5 items, good or bad, because I know a lot of you have your own stories about a cheap charging cable or extension cord that didn't hold up. I read through the comments on videos like this every week, and honestly, some of the best insights I've shared on this channel came directly from viewers sharing what actually happened to them, so don't hold back if you've got a story worth telling. Make sure you're subscribed for more honest breakdowns like this one, because knowing what to skip is just as valuable as knowing what to buy. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.